As a growth leader, you know that your top priority is to envision and execute an impactful growth strategy, but you're also aware that there's so much more to it. You're responsible for effectively leading a growth team and guiding cross-functional relationships. To make the role even more challenging, success at one company doesn't guarantee success at another. Even the highest performing growth leaders can fall short of successfully repeating growth impact at another organization, since unlike product or marketing leadership, the playbook for impacting growth is highly situational. As a result, growth leaders face a core challenge. The tactics that successfully help one company grow simply aren't guaranteed to do the same at another. Just ask Adam Fishman, one of our program partners. Adam is a growth and product advisor in Reforge EIR. Prior to advising, he was Chief Product and Growth Officer at Imperfect Foods, VP of Product and Growth at Patreon, and Head of Growth at Lyft. While working at Lyft, Adam successfully built a paid viral loop, where customers were given a referral code to share with friends. When friends used the referral codes, both parties would receive credit toward their next ride. This paid referral program drove a substantial increase in users. Later, when Adam joined Wyzant, the online tutoring platform, he set up a similar referral program where parents could receive credit for sharing a referral code with friends. He learned quickly that stigmas associated with tutoring in the United States rendered word-of-mouth referral tactics useless because parents were embarrassed to share that their kids were being tutored. As such, he had to find an approach that was appropriate for the company's specific context. So we can already see that the unique circumstances growth leaders face are challenging enough on their own, but worse still, they can make it difficult for a growth leader to accomplish everything else they need to do as well. Let's consider 4 problems that this core challenge produces. First, planning your career progression is difficult because the growth career ladder varies from company to company. In most organizations, there's not a dedicated seat at the table for a chief growth officer, which means that figuring out where a career path should start and end is often nonlinear. Just look at our program partners. Their experiences have spanned different types of businesses and functional domains as they've expanded their growth careers. We mentioned Adam a moment ago, so let's talk about Elena now. She's currently a growth advisor, serving as head of growth at Amplitude. Previously, she was CMO at Miro, SVP for product and growth at Malwarebytes, and SVP of growth at SurveyMonkey. Adam and Elena have navigated different, non-linear pathways to create growth leadership careers. The second common problem is that structuring a growth team in a way that's conducive to quick and impactful learnings is specific to each company. For example, a growth leader who successfully led a centralized team at one company might try the same structure at another, only to find that it backfires in the second scenario. Operational tactics that strengthened a growth team at one company might create bottlenecks and undercut cross-functional accountability for growth at another. Third, balancing KPI accountability cross-functionally is a process that varies from company to company. In some cases, growth leaders own all revenue accountability, which removes the incentives for other teams to work on growth. Meanwhile, in other cases, growth might have little or no accountability, which means that it'll likely be under-resourced. Adam's experience at Imperfect Foods speaks to this challenge, as his team was primarily accountable for revenue. As a result, the product team became a feature factory, shipping lots of new features that didn't solve the activation challenges his team was tackling. Conversely, at Amplitude, Elena found that growth had no revenue accountability, which was instead wholly attributed to sales. This situation was equally undesirable, as Elena's mandate was to set up a self-serve monetization motion in order to generate revenue outside of the sales org, a dynamic which was at odds with the sales team's incentive structure and goals. Whether you find yourself struggling with issues like those that Adam and Elena faced, or if you're struggling with other KPI issues, striking the right balance within your organization is key. Healthy KPI accountability is integral to the resourcing, support, and goal setting that you're responsible for. The fourth and final challenge that we'll look at is the fact that hiring growth practitioners from other companies based on their previous success doesn't necessarily work. Working in growth can mean a lot of different things to different people. So, when you're hiring, screening candidates with experience in growth isn't enough, but it's a common practice. Instead, hiring decisions need to be based on your company's unique growth motion and phase. For example, hiring someone with expertise in product-led growth to optimize a sales-led model is unlikely to be good for either the company or the growth practitioner. We can see this, for example, when employers rush to hire for growth roles out of Facebook's growth team, since they're well known for being one of the first companies to build a growth function. But Facebook's scale is so massive that the experience and skill employees gain there aren't always relevant to new growth teams or startups. The opportunities for specialization and dedicated resources aren't comparable, so the employees' contributions may not translate to a smaller organization. While there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to growth, Adam and Elena's experiences show us that specific keys can unlock success as a growth leader anywhere. We'll explore these things in this program. First, we'll cover how to plan and manage your growth career. This will include how to understand career phases, how to assess your total addressable market, and how to write your personal positioning statement. As part of our career coverage, we'll go over how to evaluate new opportunities across full-time, advisory, and interim roles. We'll also talk about how to reverse interview, a tactic that helps you understand what growth means to a given company, as well as what a potential role there might entail. And we'll provide you with a framework that will help you avoid, or at least adequately prepare for, situations where you're singularly accountable for revenue, like Adam found himself in at Imperfect Foods. Once we've wrapped up career planning, we'll cover growth goals. Here, we'll talk about structuring KPI ownership and evaluating related trade-offs. As we get deeper into growth goals, we'll walk through an audit process that'll help you figure out the right level of accountability for every metric driving growth at your company. We'll also help you to better understand how your growth portfolio can balance effects across short and long-term timelines, including when you might consider a big bet, like launching a new growth motion for acquisition. Next, we'll move on and talk about organizing a growth team. This will include establishing, structuring, and supporting a team that's capable of executing growth priorities. We'll think through structure on both the individual and team level, and then look at how to best leverage staffing models to assemble an effective team. We'll also discuss some common growth practitioner profiles, which can guide your present and future resource planning depending on the growth problems your company faces. In order to speed up your team's learning velocity, we'll look at how to build and strengthen your operating foundation and provide you with some strategic approaches to better collaborate and align with stakeholders across different stages of the growth process. Finally, we'll talk about expanding a growth team with a focus on hiring and interviewing for growth roles, including how to determine the right candidate profile given the jobs that need to be done. Our coverage on expanding your team anchors on a growth competency model, which identifies the skills you need most on your team, as well as the non-negotiable qualities in a new hire. This model can guide your job descriptions, candidate profiles, and interviewing practices. We'll also discuss how to effectively lean into the underutilized lever of internal recruiting and upskilling to round out your growth team. All of the concepts that we'll cover come from our program partners, Adam and Elena. Together, they have more than 2 decades of experience as growth leaders at well-known tech companies across the B2B, B2C, and B2B2C models. Their experiences demonstrate what makes a growth leader great at various companies. Before we get started, let's make one of the core tenets of this growth program explicit. That is, you, our audience, are likely made up of a diverse set of backgrounds, skill sets, and roles. This content will resonate the most with growth leaders in organizations that have already achieved product-market fit, since we focus on companies that have some existing growth model and target audience. We also assume that you're leading, planning to lead, or may one day lead a growth organization. Finally, although you likely have strong growth fundamentals already, if you ever need a quick refresher, our growth series and advanced growth strategy programs are always there to reference when you need them. Let's get started.